Dr. Love, you're live.
Hello and welcome to the Dr. Love Show. I'm Gabby Love, an international love coach and matchmaker based here in New York City. This series of shows came upon when my investor mentors told me that it's time to start branding the Dr. Love name. I'm currently working towards my PhD, and my focus is marital satisfaction and personality types. After 13 episodes, we will be pitched to television, so I thank you all for being here with me on this adventure. Tonight's topic is how to use your AlphaLovve and LadyLove to make or keep your relationship sexier, more dynamic, and healthier. Most relationships, independent of sex or sexual orientation, contain two powers and often are misunderstood and mishandled. For the sake of this discussion and program, we will name these forces AlphaLovve and LadyLove energies. That stands for the man and the female energies within the love unit. Contrary to popular beliefs, these energies are not naturally in opposition or at war. These forces can be equally intense and important, although not necessarily in the same emphasis, style, and/or priorities. Properly understood, orchestrated, and integrated, these forces can combine to make a relationship more solid, enticing, and nourishing. Improperly understood, suppressed, or denied, these forces can cause a relationship to go sour, become toxic, and possibly even explosive. This show will explore how to enhance the former and eliminate the latter to make our relationships more sexy, healthy, and dynamic. No matter how much you know or how much you experience, how much experience you have in any field, it is always wise to sharpen your saw. The Dr. Love Show invites you to join us to sharpen your loving skills set. To help me with this topic tonight, I've invited some wonderful guests. First, we have Melissa Minchala, who is CEO of Data Velocity, an IT and support company based in New York City. Data Velocity is the only woman-led IT solutions and services company that optimizes and manages networks for companies preparing for growth and needs that better platform to do so in the workforce, where technical expertise is pivotal and quick response is absolutely paramount. Melissa's job is not easy. She is what I call an alpha female, and all of us today know many alpha females all amongst us. In fact, when I work with a lot of women here in New York City, it can become a problematic issue in relationships. So I'm really excited to have such a powerful woman like Melissa on board tonight, who is the powerhouse of a huge corporation herself and also manages 4 children at home with her husband. So I'm so excited to have you here, Melissa. It's really an honor. Thank you for being here. My second guest is Terrence Cash, who is the chairman and founder of the Green Light corporate family and its leading companies. Terrence is also the business coach that I chose to hire this year to help me with Love Enterprises. He is a seasonal serial entrepreneur, an accredited private investor, a philanthropist, an author, and a coach, as well as a public speaker. With 25 years of experience and success in business, with offices based right here in New York City in the Times Square area. My third guest is my lovely co-host and producer, KOOGE, who is an empowerment educator in Orlando, Florida. So let's start with our married expert, Melissa. What qualities does your husband have that make him an alpha love power in your marriage?
Hi. Okay, so I once heard that men of quality want to profess, protect, and provide, the 3 Ps. And that is probably what my husband, those things is what he does that make him that alpha love power in our relationship. He has never from the beginning been shy to profess. He's always telling me he loves me. He's always leaving little cards on my pillow, gifts, always expressing how he feels about me. He's always very protective of me, but not in a way that's smothering, because I'm very independent, and he lets me be as independent as possible, but he protects me in a way that makes me feel comfortable as well. And he provides. And that has been the #1 factor from the beginning. When I first met him, we were friends for 6 months before we dated. And when I first met him, I was at the tail end of a long-term relationship with a man who did not profess, protected to an extent, but refused to provide anything. There was no, and it's not even a monetary thing, but there was no generosity of soul. There was no generosity of self. And my husband was the exact opposite. I said it must be he's from the Midwest. Maybe that's how they are in the Midwest. I just attribute it to a Midwest quality, and that has worked extremely well for us. I'm not the type of person that is looking for anyone. I've never have been I wasn't looking for a sugar daddy or anything like that, or anyone to make my life comfortable. I was looking for a partner, but that partnership required a generosity of self in many ways, the way I was willing to do so, and it was going to be an equal exchange, and my husband does that.
You obviously don't need a contributor to the finances, correct? So
right.
You're looking for a contributor in energetic relationship.
Right, and absolutely. But I also, someone where I completely recognize where my weaknesses are. And
Where are they?
my weaknesses are, I'm not, speaking of finances, I'm not good with finances. The money I take in is the money that goes out. I've never learned how to money manage. It's just the way it burned a hole in my pocket. I used to earn good money, but I never had enough in the bank. I did not know how to do it. So my husband manages the money because he knows how to do it, and he doesn't berate me or anything or expect me to learn how to do it. I let him take care of it, and I have other things that I'm better at. I am one of 4 children, and he was raised basically as an only child because his older sister is about 8 years older than he is. So he never saw how children were raised. He never really had any experience with children of any kind because he was also the youngest cousin. So he takes care of the finances. I have input, clearly, major input of what is it we want to accomplish. The broad ideas. I do the down and dirty work and the raising of the children, and he takes the lead from me. Of course, we both collaborate on that as well, but he knows that he takes the lead from me on that, and I take the lead from him on the finances.
Wow.
So it's an understanding that both of us have weaknesses, and it's not, oh, come up to the bar. It's, okay, I'll pitch in where you are slow, and you'll pitch in where I am. And it's a partnership. And the fact that he is not requiring me to do something that I don't want to do and I'm not really comfortable with, and I have no interest in, that to me is that alpha power where he'll say, okay, I'll do that. I got it.
Well, it definitely seems like you guys have a really good equilibrium of that alpha love power and your lady love power within the loving marriage unit, and you guys have to keep 4 children
Right.
leveled at that as well, which to me is just magnificent. And since I do work with a lot of very powerful women in New York, that a lot of times I have to do a lot of alpha female coaching. For example, I'm an alpha female, and in my love life, I have to leave my alpha female at the door, at the computer, at the office, with my clients, and I have to bring my lady love energy into my love life. And it was very difficult. In my 20s, I couldn't do it. I would tell men I'd have to see them once a week, and that was all I could. And, you know, so things have evolved in that. So I'm always very in admiration of my female friends and colleagues who are lady loves and run a family and are alpha females like you are, going and running a big corporation. So my last question to you is, as the CEO of your company, you're obviously an alpha female at work. Is it difficult, confusing, or annoying to make the transition either going from home to work or from work to home?
It can be very difficult. And it's probably more annoying for my husband than it is for me. You know, it becomes annoying to me when he reminds me, and then I have to kind of snap out of it, and I have to remember to make time for our relationship, and I have to remember that the only goals we have are not business type goals, that we have other type goals, that we're in this partnership until, you know, the first one croaks. So so it's difficult when you have a focus on certain goals, and you're working towards it, and you're starting to, especially when for me anyway, when you think things are fine in your romantic relationship, because things are peaceful and things are quiet and things are moving along on a schedule, and the kids are, you know, doing well in school, and you know, the home is clean, and the, you know, meals are getting cooked. You forget that there's another part, that there is an emotional need as well, and so you've got to kind of snap out of it a little bit. So it can be a little bit difficult, but I'm getting now I am a lover of organization and of routine. So what I've done is I've tried to just work it into a routine, because that's what works for me. I mean, routines are not romantic, but it's not going to get done if it's not in the routine. So that's the way I'm trying to do it.
Is phenomenal to me, Melissa. You know, it makes sense why you're an IT person, which is also a world that doesn't make much sense to me, as well as having 4 children. So I love you for having mastered that. You are such the best expert that I could have here tonight. Thank you very much. So let's move on over to Terrence, and let me ask Terrence some true or false questions as my alpha male expert for the night, and KOOGE is as well. So Terrence, does the alpha love mean that you are always right and you get to win all of the arguments and conflicts? And how much of the power are you actually carrying as the alpha male, and what I'm calling tonight is the alpha love energy?
Well, that's a great question, Gabby. And I got to give you and start with a universal answer. It all depends. In life, business, and especially love, you could be right or you could be happy. So you have to make those choices early in your relationship. If you want to be right all the time, usually that runs in a course that is completely contrary and in contradiction to being happy, usually. Those two usually are mutually exclusive. So you could be right or you could be happy. Now, also as you look at being right, you have to ask yourself the following questions. You know, when you ask a question, Gabby, especially in love, there's always three answers. There's the wrong answer. You look fat in that dress, love. There is the right answer. I prefer red on you. And then there is the answer you really should be giving, which is the really right answer, which is not only do you look fantastic in that dress, you absolutely look marvelous. Of course you don't look fat. So you can have the wrong answer, the right answer, and the really right answer. And so most alpha men would be well served in their love life to give the really right answer, as opposed to giving the wrong or the right answer. So that's one level up. Another thing you have to look at, you know, there's an old saying, you know, you can say and do whatever you want. And people say that in relation to their status as American citizens. I can say what I want. I can do whatever I want. And they say that in relationships. I'm a grown person. I'm a grown man. I'm a grown woman. You know, I make 6 figures. I make 7 figures. I've made 8 figures in my career. I can say or do whatever I want. And you know what, guys? That's absolutely true. But there's a little third part of that phrase that always gets left out. You can do and you can say whatever you want in your relationship. But here's the last part, guys. If you're willing to deal with the consequences. And most people aren't willing to deal with the consequences.
Yes, I work with a lot of men that that they start living the relationships in fear of living with those consequences. And half of my work is to teach people to like live in the moment, and let's not make it so where you have to live in the consequences. You know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for better or for worse.
But the alpha male are always aware of that territory.
Yes, you have to be in your zen, your chi, Gabby. You know, everything has got to be feng shui, right? I know you're a big fan of feng shui. So everything's got to be feng shui in your relationship. At the end of the day, for better or worse, the past always loses out to the future. So one of the things I tell my clients and friends is stop taking titles from the past, your past relationships, your past hurts and betrayals and disappointments, and tossing them in front of you as your new future, because you're just going to rehash. And you know the sequel always sucks, right? The sequel always sucks. Whether it's a movie or a relationship, if you're taking a title out of your past and throwing it in front of you, and that now becomes your future, you're not going to be happy with that. So at the end of the day, since the future is going to win out anyway over the past, you should be sowing the seeds of your success. And again, we've talked about it, Gabby, at our last Summer Friday Nights event. We talked about this to a live audience, that most people, unfortunately, are sowing the seeds to their absolute destruction in the relationship. I listened to Melissa, and I couldn't agree with her more. Basically, it seems like her and her husband have found a way to give themselves the opportunity and the permission to be themselves. And you are always going to be your happiest when you are you. I mean, it's a lot of overhead, administration, energy, and resources to be somebody else. I don't want to be anyone else, good, bad, or ugly, than Terrence Catch. And so I've listened to Melissa, and I'm hearing about this wonderful kind of dance that her and her husband have. You know, no one wants to marry or be in a relationship with themselves. I'm being honest, because 1, you're going to get bored. 2, you're always going to be mad at yourself, and I mean, you know, who can you blame but yourself, because you're in a relationship with yourself. You want the commonality of your differences to come on board. Melissa said, I'm not good at finances, guys, but my hubby, he is a Zen master at finances, so he does the finances. And she's good with that, and he's good with that. Now, maybe there are other areas, I'm sure there are other areas, that Melissa is superior at, and her husband falls back and takes the back seat to that. So to me, that's all about giving each other permission and the opportunity to be yourselves. I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice. I'm in a committed, positive, and productive relationship now. And the number one thing that makes us the happiest is that we give each other permission and the opportunity to be ourselves. So that's, to me, what it's all about. But as an alpha male, you can't choose to be right if you want to be happy. So guys, if you want to be right, you can be right. But you're not going to make your lady happy. You're not going to be happy. And ultimately, that relationship is going to be apocalyptic, right? It's going to end badly. You know, so nobody wants that. So rather than be right, tell yourself, talk to yourself. Do whatever you got to do. Be happy. Say, okay, I can be right, but I don't want to be right. I want to be happy.
Yeah, the way I look at it is exactly like how Melissa said. It's really not equal. He has his strengths. The LadyLove has her strengths, but it's equal in magnitude. But the strengths are not equal. Does that make sense? It's different, but the magnitude and the strength for the energy for the relationship is equal. But what the equality is they're on different measures. She has her skills and her gifts, and he has his skills and his gifts. Let me ask you one more question. What does the alpha love power in a relationship mean to you as an alpha male? And I think you just kind of took that on with what you said. Not being right, like to choose to be happy more than being right. I also want to extend that to the alpha female energy too, because I think that what I've worked a lot is that the alpha female also can work on that. That often seems to be a problem that arises, is that you nailed it about being right versus being happy.
One other thing, Gabby, that I want to buttress to what Melissa said and what you said just now. Love is a function of agreement. If more couples conducted their love affairs like their successful business affairs and partnerships, you'd have a lot more longevity, happiness, because at the end of the day, you know, men lie, women lie, but numbers, facts, and results don't lie. And that's what you want in a relationship. You know, it's not you're staring lovingly in each other's eyes and you hold hands and you sing Kumbaya for the next 30 years. Things got to get done, right? Melissa has 4 kids. Those kids have to be, you know, raised and reared, and character has to be imprinted in them, and they got to go to great schools and get great jobs and hopefully take care of their parents when they're rich and famous, right? So, you know, so they can live a life of luxury without having to work for it. That's not going to happen unless the results show up. The way I look at it, Gabby, when you back up for results, results come from committed relationships. Committed relationships come from accountability and responsibility. And so if you want a committed relationship, you want a productive relationship, you better have commitments. And if you want commitments, both parties got to be accountable and responsible for the results they're going to they want to create. The future is a possibility that hasn't happened yet. That's the beautiful thing about the future. It doesn't exist. You create it. So you can have any future you want with your mate, but you have to be able to create it.
I love that. Thank you.
And one thing I'd like to add is you have to also be cognizant of the fact is that the only thing that is constant is change. Circumstances will change, your life will change, you yourself will change, and so will your mate. And so something that was very important 5 years ago may not be important today, will even be forgotten in 5 years. So you have to be willing, first of all, to communicate that to your partner, and then be willing to accept that from your partner and work with whatever that change is into that harmony back again that you've always had and been working to maintain. And I feel part of the female alpha love is, for me anyway, is the requirement to have that harmony and to require the partner to work towards achieving and maintaining that harmony at all times. So I require from my husband the honesty. I require from my husband the ability to accept my changes just the way that I give him those things that I require. I give him the honesty, and I accept whatever changes, and we work together to integrate those changes into our lives in any way.
Now, Melissa, do you feel like you say you require that and you guys integrate it well? Does that seem very organic, or do you go about it by what I call authentic relating, which would be just good communication skills? Do you discuss these things, or do you guys seem to be very in tune, that you just get each other? Elaborate a little bit on how you go about that way.
It's usually a discussion. I mean, if it's something small like I don't like that flavor potato chip anymore, then that's all. That's not a discussion. But if it's something, you know, larger, that's a little bit more impact, then that's a discussion. And it usually comes about when one or the other partner expresses some sort of either confusion or displeasure, or wait a second, how come that was important and I'm trying to make it important and now you don't seem to care. But the having that conversation, having it without anger, having it without you know, any sort of negative emotional outburst or anything, and keeping it controlled, and it's taken us a little bit to get there, but now we're there.
Beautiful. I think this is what some of the single women I'm working with right now, I'm saying that it takes authentic relating, not shutting down or tiptoeing around what your needs and desires are. It has to be communicated. And
no,
I love saying this.
Right. I don't beat around bushes, and that's one of my #1 pet peeves. I will tell you what I feel, and what I feel is what you will hear from me. I am very direct, and I don't make any nuance. There are no nuances to it. This is what I said. This is what I meant. And I expect the same back, because if I don't beat around bushes, I don't want to have to chase around to find out what the real meaning is. It needs to be an equal honesty.
I feel healthy relationships in 2015 cannot beat around the bush. Authentic relating is absolutely necessary. The healthiest couples I have met in the last decade are very comfortable with their authentic relating, and it's not always a comfortable road. It's not always comfortable, but they're comfortable in actualizing the conversation, because communication is absolutely necessary. I have a program now called Communication Nation that targets this, and authentic relating that targets it in another arena. But let's move on over to KOOGE and see what KOOGE has to say on some alpha male energy. So, does a man have to be an alpha male for a relationship to be successful, KOOGE?
Let me use the term customary and usual, because there are all type of alternate lifestyles that are out there, especially today. But I would say usually and customarily, an alpha male is what a woman is looking for and what a man is comfortable with, generally. So I don't think you have to be an alpha male to be successful in a relationship, but if you're not, you're engaging in experimental behavior.
That's okay. Okay.
I dare not ask.
I love your mind. Okay. Now, will treating a man like a king go to his head and corrupt him?
Well, let me answer that this way. Treating a man like a dog will cause him to act like a dog.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So a lot of women have the philosophy that men are dogs, and guess what? That script produces dogs. Now, unfortunately, treating a man like a king is not necessarily going to make him act like a king. However, unless you reach that point, you're not going to have a satisfactory relationship. If you're a woman and you want to be a queen, you have to find a king, or find a man who might have been a dog at some time, who has developed some maturity to realize that he needs to take it to the next level. It's not something that you can't bring a man to that level. He's got to decide that's where he wants to go. It's like you can't fix him. And that's why they say a lot of times you say women are mature faster. Women figure out, in my experience, earlier that there are certain behaviors which are in their interest, and that men, for example, the squares, are the way to go. The guys that are the super hip guys that know all the different new drugs and it's got a new religion every week is not necessarily going to be the alpha male that's going to give you the house with the car note and the stability that you may want. That's just a sugar daddy who with a short life expectancy.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, let me first of all, let me ask you, Dr. Love, to put up your website so people can, if they want to ask more questions.
No idea where it went. I can't. my logistics here are gone because I came into the show through a different venue.
Oh, I see. Okay, no problem. They can get it from the event page. My question to you, Dr. Love, true or false? Men being too macho is bad, but being alpha is good. True or false?
Being too alpha is, being too macho is bad. That's true. I haven't really found any woman that has told me that a large dose of machismo has been really good for the relationship. In fact, I feel like a large dose of macho is not sexy. That's just my own personal taste. But I have never heard it being utilized for a relationship for healthy purposes at all. So, but I am all about the alpha male energy, and being an alpha female, I have really done wrong in this department. And this is from the thousands of women that I've now worked with in the last decade. Even the alpha females that I work with want is the man to be somewhat of an alpha male. Sometimes for some women it's more an equal territory, and for some is other. But all the women, unless they definitely choose to be the masculine energy of the relationship, they get irritated by being the masculine energy of the relationship. And so for the alpha females, I have to constantly tone them down into leaving their alpha female at the office, at the desk, in their purse, wherever. Just don't take it into the relationship. Other women that are not alpha females, they tend to have an easier time in being more of the feminine energy. Now, I'm not saying that the woman cannot be the masculine energy of the relationship, but that is a different polarity, a different positive and negative charge, and she can be, but if she gets resentful and unhappy and her feminine needs become not actualized. So it's a harder formula to work with. I also have a website where I sell astrology reports based on someone's birthday, and it's called loveanddestinyreports.com. And on that, it's very interesting. It says that some of us, like if I dated Terrence, I might be the masculine energy of that relationship. There's nothing we can do in our lifetime to change that because it's based on our birthday. And I have seen this in action. And it does make for a harder relationship. Imagine me and Terrence in love. We got an alpha female and we got a hardcore alpha male. And if I did a love report, which I'll have to do now, Ted, if I'm the masculine energy of that, it's going to make it a harder relationship. This is what I teach my clients. I really have to leave my alpha female at the desk, at the office, in my purse, or flush her down the toilet at times, and just stay in my feminine energy as much as possible if I want to be the feminine energy of the relationship. And I find that most women in 2015, and I've met some serious powerhouses, love to feel feminine in their relationship at some point, so they can't have both. So I tell them, leave the alpha female at the office, or run the children with it, or do it with your business partner, or with your producer, with the people you work with. But in love, tone it down. Don't be the one in charge all the time. To me, what the masculine wrote, I actually have my writings here behind me, and I tried to organize it for the show a bit. The alpha gives the relationship, the masculine, direction and determines the strength and the magnitude. You hear that, ladies? That's what I define as alpha. That means he's running the direction, the strength, and the magnitude of the relationship. And it's actually really nice for all us alpha females when we think about it, because it's, to me, in my relationship, it's the only time that I get to really relax. I don't give anything in my love relationship. I allow myself to receive fully, and I fully embrace that. Now, when it comes to the logistics of the day-to-day love life, and the making plans and all that, I'm very good at that, and I try to be more fluid in that with my partner. I try to, but I have to consciously work on it, and I feel that all the alpha females that I work with have to. Now, the LadyLoves that are out there that aren't alpha females, they more naturally, they're assuaged into this energy, just energetically anyway. And I feel like those women can sometimes be a lot more successful in their love lives. It's a little bit harder for the alpha female. And I don't know if any alpha female out there would disagree with me. It's not as easy flowing. And it takes some conscious effort, like Melissa has done with her husband. She's conscious, and they're very good at authentic relating. It's not easy, ladies. It takes communication, and it takes a little bit of consciousness into it. I also say that the alpha is in charge of the dedication. I think, and what I mean by that is, I always say to my single women, when the man chooses you, when he says, you are who I want, it is so much more powerful. Melissa's husband at one point said, you are who I want. That it was so much more powerful than her demanding a marriage contract. Pushing a man to the dedication is never the right answer. Now, a lot of women won't get it, but it will come back and bite them where we don't want it to be bit, because the masculine energy doesn't want to be forced into anything. So at one point, Melissa's husband said, you are the woman I want. You are the one I want to raise kids with. And ladies, when you let the man run and dictate the strength, the magnitude of the dedication of the relationship, it is just much more secure and firm and stable. Also, I say, let the man dictate the relationship adjustment. Oh, I love this one. I came up with this one because I have worked with all these single women, and a lot of them are dating on Tinder in New York, and they're like, well, I'm just going to dump him, or I'm going to tell him, this isn't working for me. And I'm like, yeah, right. You're the one that's going to suffer. You're going to be the one obsessed on him. You don't really want it to end. You just aren't willing to do wife energy like Melissa is, which is authentic relating and saying, look, dude, I'm not happy with you dating a bunch of other women. I really want more from you. And you know what? The correct answer is to go into the authentic relating and get more from him. That way, not pretend you're fine with breaking up, because more than likely he will. You break up with him, he will move on to somebody else. It's over, and you didn't really want a breakup. So I say to all my clients, it is a myth. If you ever initiate the relationship adjustment, as I call it, give it up, ladies. We don't really want it. We don't want that control. Let him dictate that. Also, I think that the man, the solution consideration, that goes with the relationship adjustment. Just, if we do it, I deal so much with women regretting that. And it makes the man weary of you. He's weary now. He's like, oh, I thought things were going fine, and all of a sudden she breaks up. What she was really wanting to do was figure out how to have some communication skills with him to take the relationship to the next level. She didn't really mean to break up, but a lot of times I'm finding in 2015 a lot of women are doing this breakup in order to get their needs met. Is there anything else you wanted to ask me, Kim?
Yes, I wanted to ask you about the war on the sexes. Is that a truth or a myth, in your opinion?
Well, you know, in 2015, the war on sexes, you know, it's a myth. I mean, I would suggest that anybody, if there's a war of sexes going on in their love life, that's just not the right relationship, period. I don't think any loving relationship should be going into war at all. Now, I do know a lot of people that are married are in war, and a lot of relationships that are in war. And I attribute that to people that don't know any other way of communication. So that, I throw them into my communication programs, first and foremost, because there are a lot of people out there I find and I work with that just don't know how to communicate properly, so they choose to be at war, or to fight, or to be annoyed, or mad, and ooh, boo-hoo to me, you know, and take on these energies that are just mythical to me. It's like they're bull. And to me, they're wanting to connect with their partner. That's what they're really wanting, with the boo and I'm mad at you and this. They're wanting connection. So I say figure out how to be wife energy and husband energy, because wife energy and husband energy have figured out, if they're in their light and if they're healthy, how to connect. And that's where I feel the issue is. So any war goes to communication, resolution. I also find that the big war on sexes, I don't like to look at it that way, but what I find with me, the war as a psychologist with people can stem from the women being a little bit too sensitive in 2015. Whether they're single or they're married, I feel like that causes a lot of war in relationships. And we allow ourselves to be too sensitive because that's what a girlfriend is for. Oh, he didn't call me back today. Oh, what a jerk. And we victimize. We victimize the women and friends because all we're doing is we want to be there for our friend. But we're making it a bit of woos to me. And I find that a lot of women are taking a lot of these sensitivities that they are allowed with their girlfriends. Oh, he was mean, and they take it into their relationship a little bit too much. And so I feel like I'm constantly, I always teach my women how to be these strong forces and to not be quite as sensitive. I've worked with a lot of men these last few years, and they're not sensitive when it comes to love. And they have a much easier way of going about it. Now, the war of the sexes with men stems from, and I'm urging the men in 2015 that aren't married to stay engaged in the relationship versus taking off so quickly. In marriages, I tell my married, don't check out and just blame it on her, or she'll figure it out, or she's in a bad mood. No, engage. engage, do the communication nation, authentic relating with your wife instead of just writing it off but still holding in all of these annoyances or resentments. I think it's very important. Communication in the last decade we've watched on TV has been huge. I don't think much has changed in 2015. I think that's where we all find our relationship stealth and our health. And I do find that the men should really, I look at the AlphaLovve as the relationship stealth and the LadyLove as the relationship health. Ladies, like, we are in charge of the emotional security, the emotional intelligence of the relationship. And like what Melissa's doing, you know, the man, her husband is running the stealth, the money, he's organizing all that, but she's keeping the relationship health going. And I feel like that's a very good formula.
To add to what Gabby said about the war of the sexes, I have a simple answer. If you have war in your love life, then you're doing one of them incorrectly. So that's my take on that. You only get in love, business, and life what you negotiate and what you tolerate. So what you negotiate and what you tolerate. You only get what you negotiate and what you tolerate in your relationship. It's, you know, again, love is a function of agreement. I mean, Melissa talked glowingly about basically the agreements that her and her hubby have about money and about the kids and about work-life balance and all these wonderful things that have to be negotiated. They're functions of agreement. So, you know, and then, Gabby, going back to what you said earlier, you know, these toxic relationships and these women, and again, it happens to men too, but I think it's more overwhelmingly on the female side, that they tolerate these toxic relationships, and you get only what you tolerate. All you're basically saying is, yes, beat me, hurt me, teach me how to love. You know, that's all you're asking for. Give me more, you know. So, you know, you have to cut those off. But again, you know, I don't think there's a war of the sexes anymore. I think there used to be. Women can do and say and be and make monetarily anything they want to make and exactly what the men make or more than what the men make. So I think that's now kind of reached equilibrium. I know there might be some facts that say the contrary, but to me, the opportunity, the possibility of doing that has never been more apparent. Maybe some of the numbers are still in favor of the men, but I think women have the opportunity and the possibility to do whatever they want to do, and hence that whole alpha female thing.
Hallelujah. Now, Melissa and KOOGE, do you guys have any last words on how to use the forces of LadyLove and AlphaLovve to make your relationship sexier and more dynamic?
I think that and I gotta say, I'm so glad I'm not in the game anymore because things have gotten crazy out there. I couldn't do Tinder. I couldn't do. I mean, God bless you all, but I can't do that.
Yeah, me either.
But I gotta say, if you're looking for someone, first of all, know what it is, who you are, and what you're offering, and know what it is, what you want, and what you want in return. And be clear about that, not only with yourself, but with the person that you're with. Just like Clarence, I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names.
Terrence, okay.
Terrence, sorry. Just like Terrence was just saying, you know, it's all about what you will accept. If you say, okay, these are the things that I'm giving, these are the things that I require, and it's here, but this guy is only willing to come about here, don't complain if this is what you're accepting. Don't boo-hoo about, oh, I can only get here. There is a lid for every pot. Put that pot back and keep on looking until you find yours. I feel like too many people just get stuck because they're afraid or they're complacent or they don't want to, you know, get back on Tinder. So, you know what it is, who you are, what you're offering, know what it is, what you want, and be clear about that. And don't waste your time with anything else. Just don't. It's not worth it.
Trust that you can manifest exactly what you want.
Absolutely.
KOOGE?
Yeah, what I would, a final thought I would like to leave with our audience on this topic is Max Lucado had a quote which said, conflict is inevitable, combat is optional. And, you know, that's where I think, you know, in terms of the war of the sexes it doesn't have to be there if you don't want it to be there. You can, in fact, go through a life. You can't go through a life without any conflict, but you can just say, no, we're not going to go into combat. We can have disagreements, but we're not going into combat. There's a great movie. There's a great movie out now called Trainwreck. If you haven't seen it, it is brilliant, and it's on this topic. Amy Schuler, she really plays the alpha female. Her dad tried to turn her into an alpha when she was a kid, and she becomes an alpha, but she's not happy. And her sister, he tried to turn her sister into, her sister becomes an AlphaLovve, where she becomes an alpha male. And she becomes a dog, you know, the one night stands, the whole deal. So she doesn't recognize true love when a class guy shows up. She doesn't know how to deal with it. And they wind up going to war because he makes the mistake, which is usually not a mistake, but he makes a mistake of saying, well, my parents said, don't go to bed mad. Talk out your problems. And then, you know, it'll make your relationship happy. What he didn't realize is he had an alpha, and he's a surgeon. So she kept him up all night. It's very funny, but it shows you what happens when you engage in that experimental behavior. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it's a good example. And it's very funny. I think it's the best movie since Harry Met Sally in terms of the truths.
That good, huh?
Yeah, that good. I mean, they go there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, KOOGE, and I want to thank you and Melissa and Terrence for joining me tonight. Thank you so much. And I want to thank all of our viewers. Everyone can see the show at GabbyLove.com under the Dr. Love Show link. And we will be back with you the last Sunday of August next month. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you all. Thank you, Gabby, KOOGE, and Melissa.
Okay, and that is peace out. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Fantastic. Great show, guys.
I like that. Peace out. Thank you very much, you guys. That was really great. I'm glad we pulled that together. I had an interesting day. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do a run through today.